Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how I did this Mandalorian mockup in Photoshop and pixel art. So here I'm making a sketch for the overall scene. The idea is for this to look like it's a platform game, a side-scroller platform game featuring the Mandalorian, Baby Yoda, and the Razor Crest, I think it's what it's called, as well as some buildings that would be remnants of Tatooine's sort of architecture style. Here I'm trying to figure out a palette for the metallic reflections off of the Razor Crest. I want them to be, I want it to be metallic but also reflect a lot of the sky and ground color, which is going to be sort of sandy ground. I figure out that the best way to look at my colors is to see them in context. So I say paint the background immediately in the ground as well. So now I have a reference for what the ground looks like, what the sky looks like, and I can play off the contrast of those things in context. So here the building here has those kind of diagonal bars just for visual interest. Really, it's not even on the reference that I have here on the left. I pull that reference off of course, the internet, but as well, I try to sort of organize it the way I want. You can see the little bubble head. I will talk about it later. It's a good reference for this kind of thing. So with the building's light established, which is the simplest thing to establish because it's made of primitive shapes, it's a bunch of boxes and half a sphere. So it's really easy to shade. And once you shade that, you get an idea of where your light source is. And in this case, it's above, slightly to the left, and slightly towards the camera, but not really that much. So it's basically going to provide me with the center, roughly center highlight, which is above the object's volume, which is great because it's very straightforward. I'm also making sure that I illustrate using the hues and the colors of the palette. I illustrate what the object is reflecting, whether it's sky or ground, and that way I can add another layer of shading and volume. So whoever's looking at the image has a better understanding of where a certain surface is facing, right? So if it reflects blue, it means it's facing up towards the sky. And this is all like brushed metal, but I'm being fairly, sort of conservative here with the amount of shapes and the amount of colors that I use, because even though I've seen the show, I love the show, I'm not so comfortable with the design. That's why I got the reference in, because I don't want to make any stupid mistake about shape. And even then, I don't know all the intricate details. So I'm kind of adding some, like fake details here and there. I think that, like, for example, landing gear, I think it's too close together at the top where it meets the ship, but I just didn't want the shape of the back landing gear on the right to be behind the front landing gear. I also play around here with the colors. Again, I get more of the blue for the reflections. I play around now, not with the hues, but with the values, so that the colors kind of fill their own roles. Like you would like to have the values kind of spread out, which gives you more versatility, but also you don't want the colors to be like clumped together in certain spots because you're just wasting colors. Here I try to do the Mandalorian using the sort of the background the way it was, with the tiles separate, because I want to make sure that it fits with a 24 height. Just because, it makes more sense if I'm doing this, like if it's a Game Boy Advance kind of thing. Of course, the arm is going to be extra, and I struggle with the pose, and I really am not happy with the pose eventually, but I'm struggling more with what detail to use. And the reason why I downloaded the bobblehead reference is because those tend to be already stylized. So it's a good way for me to sort of see what I can stylize and retain the identity of the character. Here, what I'm missing to do is those little carved shapes on the side of the helmet. So I just have like the T, which is the visor shape. But overall, it kind of looks like a Mandalorian, so I just move forward towards the Baby Yoda's pram or walker or whatever it is. It's also a very interesting shape because it's like 3/4 of an egg, but the material is not as reflective as the metal on the ship because it's not bare metal. It's painted metal, even though it's scuffed, but you're still going to get reflections off of the sky, especially with such a bright day. And here I'm adding a bit more detail to the house, I think, because I think I'm done with the character. But in a bit, I will realize that Baby Yoda, in comparison to the Mandalorian, looks like they're in the shade, right? Because it doesn't have any reflections or highlights on the head. I mean, every highlight is a reflection, so to speak, but it's just better to describe them like that. I'm trying to add detail to the helmet here, but I'm failing a little bit, and I decide to add detail to the chest plate, which I think helps, actually, turn it more into the character itself. I set the legs apart a little bit more like a Mega Man kind of pose, which also gives it a little bit more action, but I can't really go into extreme pose because I'll go out of the 8x8 tile. I decided to add a little bit more color and contrast to the building, just because it's now become sort of a framing device. I'm kind of using it as a way to sort of close the frame. I put the highlights on Baby Yoda. I'm trying to put highlights here on the Prem as well. And now I create this, which, I don't know, looking back now, I think maybe this is unnecessary, but it kind of makes it look more like a game. I'm just creating the ground tiles, almost like if the ground was sliced, like you would see in a classical platform game. And I guess it kind of works. It's just visual interest, but it may be a little too noisy. I may have overdone it. But in the end, if you think about this as a game, the ground doesn't move. The characters move, the enemies move, so the ground will kind of lose, when it comes to priority, it will lose to other game assets. Here I'm making a kind of tile system for the clouds, and that kind of looks like an animal, so I just immediately changed it. And I was really not like putting an effort into it, but it actually came out pretty versatile because it's not fully shaded in. It's just an outline of a cloud, which means I can put tiles over tiles and I won't have to make extra ones. And just to end, I do the double suns of Tatooine, frame the image again. I realized that I had deleted the ground tiles, so I have to remake them again. Actually pretty quick with the grid system with the snapping. And also just the levels here, because these being like metallic objects, I kind of feel that they need to reflect a little bit more. Although the chest, I think, should be in shadow from the helmet. And there it is. That's the complete image. I hope you guys enjoy this, and I hope you learned something from it. So I'll see you guys some other time. Bye-bye.